welcome to my channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui. On this channel I make some tutorials. I post new videos on Wednesdays and on Saturdays. So if you're into stuff like this, make sure to check back on those days in order to watch new content. Alright, if you are a beginner or if you're a person that's trying to brush up on your skills, I offer online courses. I'll be showing a demo on how to make a jumpsuit so you can watch on the side if it will be convenient for you to learn online. If you're interested, send me a message on Telegram. Alright, number is on the screen right now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, please give it a like. Do not forget to subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Have a lovely day. Bye bye. Alright, you're welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be making the dress that you've seen on the thumbnail and at the beginning of the video. So to begin, I'm working with 4.5 yards of fabric. I've gone ahead to separate the half yard from the 4 yards. So this is it here. Out of this half yard, I'm going to make the ropes that we're going to use for the drawstring. So let's begin. The first thing you're going to know, the first thing you need to know is the length of the dress. So whatever dress length you want, you are going to cut that number plus 2 inches. So the dress length I'm working with is 60. I'm going to go ahead to cut 62. So I'm going to need to cut 2 parts. That's for the front and for the back. Now I'm cutting it from the part of the fabric where you count your yards, so your 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yards. And this this design would be best if you use a fabric that has a width of 60. All right. So yeah. So you cut two pieces of the dress lengths that you're working on. So yeah, you can see that's the one I'm working on now. So this is one of it here. You're going to fold the fabric into 2. So you're going to fold it on the part that is by 60, not on the 62. So on the width of the fabric, that's the part of the fabric you are going to fold. So I've folded that now. Take your time, make sure that everything is flat. So that's the top. You're going to come to the bottom of the dress. All right, at the bottom of the dress, I want you to place your hip divided by 4 plus 5 inches. All right, so the hip I'm working with is 43 divided by 4 is 10.75. 10.75 plus 5 inches, that's 15.75. Now this at the bottom, you're going to come to that point right there. So 15.75 at the bottom. You're going to make a cut from here, opening up to the shoulder. So you're going to start from the 15.75, and as you cut along, it's going to open up. So you see, you're cutting on a slant. I'm not cutting straight. You can see what I'm doing, arranging everything again, and I'm going to gradually cut until I open up before I get to the shoulder. So you can see it's like a triangle. After you've done that, make sure to repeat this step on the second side. So remember, we cut 2 pieces. We cut 2 pieces that were cut with a length of 62 inches. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I've gone ahead to trim the side of the second part. That's it here on the table. The next thing we're going to do is let's work on our neckline. So you're going to pick one of the 2 sides. It doesn't matter because both of them are the same at this point. So you're going to pick any of the sides that you have, and you're going to need to take out your neckline with a neckline depth, like I had said. The neckline width, I'm taking out 3 inches. For the neckline depth, I'm taking out 5 inches. I took out 5 inches first, but later on took it down to 7 because my wife said she wanted it deeper. So if you want yours to look exactly like it did at the end or at the beginning that you've seen, I use 7, not 5. But first, I use 5 here. So yeah, you can play with it however, with how judging. Use the amount of skin that you are willing to show in order to cut the depth. But the neckline depth or width of 3 is okay for most people. But as for the depth, is based on preference. That's what I'm trying to say. So once you cut the front deep, you will need to cut the back high. So now for the neckline width, you see this, the width is going to stay the same at 3 inches. But for the depth, we're only going to come in by 1 inch. Now we're not going to cut this as a V, we're going to cut it as a U. All right, so yeah, So this 1 inch at the back is going to be enough for most people, but in the front, based on preference, you can either use the 5 if you want it to be a bit higher than the end result that you saw at the beginning of the video. So now this is what we have left after. Remember that half inch we cut out. We are going to cut on the length. Remember, I've told you that the width of the fabric is 60 inches. That's why it's best you make this out of chiffon or silk or something like that, because Ankara always comes in by 45, not in by 60. So now from that our half yard we kept aside, I want you to cut 2.5 inches 3 times. Okay, this is the 3 pieces what we're going to use to create that drawstring effect in front. So you're going to need to cut out 2.5 inches by 60 because the length of my fabric is 60. All right, now I hope that is out of the way. I'm going to show you how to implement that on the body. All right, I'm going to show you how we create that. Now for the next thing, for my neckline. Now to finish my neckline, you can go ahead to use cotton bias to finish it, but for me I want to use the fabric to finish the neckline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my fabric diagonally like so. I'm going to cut it out like a flay, and then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come to the end here. I'm going to cut out just a little bit of it. I'm going to use my tape to make sure that I have 2 inches at least for the width at the end there. And then I'm going to simply cut here straight down. I'm going to cut this 2 times. Now 2 times will be enough for almost any neckline, because of by the time we open this up, it's going to turn out to be a lot longer than what we need. All right, so I'm going to just straighten out this part here. We're going to use this to create to finish our neckline. I'm going to show you how we apply this on the neckline, but just cut these 2 pieces the way I have. So the first thing we're going to work on is the front. So the part where we cut the neck deep, you're going to come to the center. You can see there is a crease in the middle of my fabric. That's because I ironed out the center line. I ironed the fabric perfectly folded so that I'll see the center line. All right, now in case I didn't make it clear, that the shoulder line is where we have the by 60. The 62 is the length of the fabric. I really want to make that clear. You're going to bring one of the 2.5 inch long fabric that we have, like the 2.5 by 60, those 3 pieces, bring one of it, iron both sides like you're seeing me fold, and then bring it. I'm going to show you how to apply that to the body. So you can see what I have here. You can see I've folded both sides of the 2.5 inches. I'm going to turn my fabric upside down. All right, so flip the whole thing upside down. We're about to create the space that's going to hold the 2 strings, the 2 laces that you need to drag to create that effect. Keep a space of 4 inches away from the edge. You can see that 4 inch space away from the edge. And then we're going to place this 2.5 inch piece on the middle of that line that I have running from top to bottom. You can see there is not sitting at the edges. The middle of the 2.5 inch line is sitting on the middle of that line. All right, so I'm going to stitch this all the way up to the neckline. You can see I have some excess there. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. All right, from here all the way down. Okay, then we're going to get our scissors. We're going to trim the excess from the neckline. So you see this, I started from the bottom so that I can use the knit part of that's the edge of my fabric at the end there, so that they don't need to hem it. That's why I started from the bottom. I'm going to iron this, make sure everything is flat. After that, I'm going to stitch from in the center of these 2 lines that I have from the bottom all the way up. That's what that stitch is going to create the 2 tunnels I will need for passing my lace through. All right, so you can see me making that stitch. I had ironed this before I came to cut that part of that excess we have on the neck. All right, after we've done that to the body, we're going to bring the remaining 2.5 inch parts. Remember, we had 3 pieces, so we've used the first one. We have 2 left here. We're going to bend it the way you're seeing me fold it, and we're going to stitch from the bottom to the top. All right, make sure you hem both sides the way you're about to see me do. This is the shape we need it to have, so that we can use it to form the drawstring that we need. So Make sure to take your time with this. When you're done, iron the both of them so that they are smooth and clean. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a safety pin to hold on to my fabric. That's the loop, the lace we just created, and I would pass it through one of the holes. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to simply do the same thing on the other side of camera. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing. I'm passing it through one of the holes. Once I come out of the bottom, I'm going to now flatten everything, stretch out, drag most of the excess out to the bottom, and just pin the top there like so. Alright, so you can see after passing the rope through the second one, I'm going to run a single stitch to hold everything in place while I'm sewing, because we have not finished the neck yet. If you leave it like that, the lace might enter inside and you have to do this again. So just make a simple stitch to hold it in place. Don't lock it when you start, don't lock it when you finish. Alright, just to hold our excess like so. Alright, we'll loosen up the stitch later on when we have finished our neckline properly. Alright, so you can see the end. You can see we have both of our strings sticking out the bottom. That's where you need to drag it from to create whatever effects you want. Alright, so onto the next step is joining the back onto the front. When you start from the armhole on this side here. Alright, we're going to use consume half an inch when we're making this stitch. But before we start stitching half an inch, we are going to keep a space of 9 inches. This is where your arm is going to stick out of. This is what creates the hole for you to be able to bring your hands out. So you're going to keep 9 inches away from the edge, as you can see me do. Make sure you align both the front and the back, make sure they're on the same level there. So I'm now going to stitch half an inch all the way down. So you can see that I've kept my 9 inches. So I'm going to stitch from here to the neckline. So you can see I'm going to lock when I start. I'm going to stitch from there all the way towards the neckline, lock it at the neckline, bring the other part of the neckline, continue it, and I would stop before I get to 9 inches on this other side. Alright, you can see me doing that. I'm going to lock there. So we've kept the 9 inch space at the beginning and at the end. Make sure to spread and iron these 2 stitches, and you can, if you want this to be the neatest it can be, use an overlocker to finish the edges of the both sides. That's the 2 rough edges you can see. So use the overlocker and then iron it flat. Alright, so you can see the two last pieces we cut on the table that I said we'll use for the neckline. We have them here. I'm going to join them together. I'm keeping so much space away from the edge because I'm trying to get rid of these 2 parts. You see these white parts here? I'm trying to get rid of them. I do not need them. So that's why I'm keeping all that space. Alright, so after I join it, you can see I've cut off the excess. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my ironing table and I'm going to iron half inch to the left, half inch to the right. The same thing we've been doing with all the little pieces that we have. Alright, so this is the inside of the neckline. We're going to start from the wrong side and go to the correct side. So you can see what we have here. I've folded it like I said you should. Alright, so let's go ahead and attach it. So we're going to start from the center of the back. Make sure to fold the edge that you are starting on. Alright, and then simply open one side of the fold that you have and stitch. So you see that now that's the first fold I'm talking about. I mean fold it on the 2.5 before you start stitching so that edge is clean. Alright, so you can see the edge I have here. You can see that there's nothing sticking out because yeah, I folded it before I started stitching. Alright, so you can see it's pretty easy. Just stitch on the other side, turn it on this side and finish it. I'm now loosening that stitch that held my lace together. You can see the neckline here. You can see how smooth it is. So you're going to come to the armhole. We're going to turn everything inside out to the wrong side and we're going to stitch both of them, so both on the left and on the right. This is going to finish the sides. Alright, so the 2 sides of the dress, this is what's going to finish it properly. Alright, so I'm going to make a stitch here and I'm going to repeat this step on the other side as well. Alright, so you can see after you've made this stitch, make sure it's an overlocker to finish the rough edge if you want this to be the neatest it can be. Alright, with that out of the way, we're coming through the neckline. So remember, you see this neckline that we iron flat. Alright, make sure it's an overlocker to finish it for it to be neatest it can be. You're going to come as close to, you see this place here where the fabric splits. That's where that place that we stopped and backstitch when we're stitching down. We're going to come from here. You see this? we're going to fold the edge here, place down your presser foot, fold the second side, and then we're going to stitch across to hold the both sides folded in. So you can see that, make a stitch, make sure you try and stop at the end. If you pass it like I did, take your time, drop your needle exactly where the last stitch stopped, and then for everything else, it's just going to be for you to simply fold it and stitch. So we're basically turning the rough edge in. Make sure that the bottom parts of whatever you're stitching is clear of any fabric, so you don't end up stitching another part of your dress under all of this. It will be a handful because of all the bulk that you're dealing with, but if you take your time with it, nice and easy, you would be done. All right, so if I turn everything inside out, you'll see that the armhole on this part here has been properly finished. Take it to your ironing table, press and iron it, cut all your excess thread, make it neat. Yeah, do the same thing on the other side of the sleeve as well. After you finish the armhole, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hem the bottom of the dress. I'm going to fold 1 inch twice as I'm hemming the bottom of the dress. So remember, we kept 2 inches. I'm holding 1 inch 2 times, so I'm not folding ½ inch twice, I'm folding 1 inch twice. All right, so we're going to go from here all the way around, all the way. But if you want it to sweep the floor and to be really full, you can simply just hold ½ inch. All right, after you've hemmed the bottom, one last step is you're going to need to pin it down. So as it is, it's okay, but I'm trying to create 2 stitches on the side to make it have some sort of form to cling to the body a bit. So you're going to come to the middle of your dress, make a pin that's holding both the front and the back of the dress, and pin it all the way down. All right, make sure you pin it to hold everything in place. After you're done pinning it down, we are going to divide your hip by 4. All right, so what I'm doing now is the hip is 43, so that's the first fold, and then I'm going to fold it again. So it's basically just your hip divided by 4. All right, that's the middle of my hip. All right, so you see that, or you just simply divide your hip by 4 and then place that number on the middle like so. So remember, my hip is 10.75, that's 10.75 on the middle of the dress, and then you mark the beginning. Okay, you see that, and then you're going to use your presser foot to hold it. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to place your armhole. So the armhole is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Mine is 7.5 when I'm done with all the plenty mathematics, plus 2 inches gives us 9.5. all right, I'm going to just approximate that to 10 here because it's just ½ inch. The whole thing is loose, so it's not going to really affect us. I'm just simply marking my 10.75 again. I'm now going to sew down 10 inches, but I will give a space of 1.5 inches away from that point to create a little ease so that it's not so tight. All right, if you don't understand, I'm going to say it again. So what I'm saying is this: you divide your hip into 4. Okay, you mark your armhole first, you mark that point, that's the hip divided by 4, in 2 places. You're going to come 1.5 inches after where you mark and just simply stitch 10 inch down. I hope that it is clear now. Yeah, but after I do this, I'm done. Just drag up your drawstring. If you've watched this far into the video, thank you so much. I'm going to see you in the next video. You'll have a lovely day. Bye bye.